So let's jump into the box quickly and then into a bit more detail. Now, even though the kit does not come with an engine, that doesn't mean they did not detail the chassis and all the parts that are still visible and there, of course. Now, the sad thing is they did detail the chassis, all the parts seem to be there. This part is molded in. They do that a lot, and which makes it a lot harder to detail and paint, but at least it's there. This part is also part of the rear bumper. It will be really visible, molded into the rest of the plastic. Well, mostly not really that big of a problem, as it's probably all going to be matte black. But if you decide to go for the option of doing this in carbon fiber, you will have some extra work, as you might need to clear coat that in a gloss instead of a matte, with the rest of this in the black. All the details on the disc brake are also nicely done. The discs are drilled and the calipers are nicely detailed. Same goes for all the other parts on the chassis. The second sprue with the chassis parts is not really that big. It has a couple of the underlining parts for the wheel wells, some grills for in the front bumper, and a radiator or intercooler, and some more suspension components. Moving on from the nicely detailed chassis onto a super nicely detailed interior. The main interior tub is one part, with the center console molded in. The door cards are a separate piece, the dashboard and the seats as well, which does leave you a lot of room to detail it. Now sadly, they did not give the option to make this into a manual, just the automatic version. Not really that big of a deal, but I would have liked to give this the option of that manual, as that would be the preferred one for me. Even though it's super rare, it's out there and I think it really looks cool with the gated shifter. They also included a lot of detail for the headliner and also the A-pillars, which can be painted in the same color as the rest of the interior, as it does on real cars a lot of the time, but you can also easily paint it in another color to have a bit of a contrast. The details from the interior and all the other parts continue on another sprue combined with a lot of exterior parts. So as I said, the details for the interior are nicely done. Also on the door cards, everything looks really crisp and clean. It is pretty much one part, which does make it a bit of a challenge to paint everything, but at least the details are there, even for the seat controls. And it does have some of the indicator stocks, some belts for on the rear, and also a handbrake, nicely detailed steering wheel as well, and of course some detailed seats too. These are two-part seats, and you can also, if you want to, apply some carbon fiber decals to the backs of these. Some body components like the side skirts and the VINs for on the back, including some grills and the mirrors. Now, even though Ferraris are pretty flashy cars, they don't really have that much chrome on the more modern ones. Fujimi luckily picked up on that and didn't go overboard. Just a couple pieces for the grille, some of the headlights, the exhaust chips and the mufflers as well, and the main bucket for the headlight too. They look really good and clear, no imperfections in the chrome whatsoever, so this should be a breeze to use. If you would have bought the Revell version of this, the plus side is you get an engine, and one of the biggest downsides would be that you get some of the wheels that look like these, but are about half as small and don't really look like these. Now luckily Fujimi is on par with their wheel game. They even have some different widths for the front and rear, and the design actually looks to be correct, including the size as well. Of course, to go along with those wheels you get some tires as well. It has some nice profile, a good thick sidewall, and of course the smaller one for on the front. And of course, to mount these wheels and keep them sort of spinnable, they also added some poly caps. Alongside the main sprue for the clear parts, you also get some separate sprues, one with a colored in orange clear part set and one with the red ones. This is the outside ring for the taillights, the brake light, and these things, which I will find out in the build itself what they are for. They are pre-colored, which makes it a lot easier and cleaner to detail the build instead of just having to paint them yourself. The main sprue with the clear parts is a pretty small one at that. It has a big one for all the windows around. It has nice details for the heating elements and also the hazing around, so you can easily just mask it off. It also has some details for the headlight lenses and also the inserts for the taillight lenses as well, and I think some indicators, or maybe even the halogens for the main bulbs itself in the headlights. Not sure, but we will find out. And as usual with a Fujimi kit, you also get a nice decal sheet with a lot of different options for the license plates. You can just pretty much make your own. Some decals here and there for some of the Pininfarina logos, the Ferrari prancing horses of course, and some of the gauges, and some more logos for on the car as well. On this one they added some photo etch as well for the horse. I'm pretty sure this one is for in the front grille, but I'm not exactly sure on that, but all to be found out on the build itself. Apart from the side skirts and the missing pieces here, the body is pretty much molded in one piece, or at least the parts that are supposed to be painted in the same color are on there. The panel lines are very crisp and clear, just a little touch up to make them a bit deeper so they don't drown in paint, and that is pretty much all you need to do. This piece needs to be cut out in order for the windows to fit, and then here you would place that fin over on the other sprue. Now there are of course a couple of mold lines, not really big ones, easily to be fixed with a bit of sandpaper, some sanding sticks, and some time. They added some of the placement for the shields on the sides. You can decide to sand that off or just leave it on so you know where to place them perfectly.